Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. I'm so glad you're here and listening to the podcast. I say it all the time and I will continue to say it. I really appreciate you for listening into the podcast. And because you've been such faithful listeners, you helped us get ranked in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, according to Listen Notes. So thank you so much for doing that. And while we're thinking of that, to help us to keep it going, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast and share this episode with a friend because I'm sure it's going to be inspiring. All right. Now, today I'm going to be talking with someone who I had the joy of meeting recently in her role as the interim executive director for the West Los Angeles chapter of the American Red Cross. And her name is Alina Correa. And I'm excited for this conversation. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Robin. I'm so excited to be here.
All right, so now let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit, anything you want to say about you, we'll say about you kind of personally, and then about you, the work you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit about me is I'm a proud Latina, Mexican American. I live in Los Angeles. I love my family, my friends, my community. And so that's kind of me, like a little bit. I love baseball and sports and people and reading. So there's so many things about me that encompass who I am. One of the things that the way that I got to meet Robin here was through my work. So I have been the interim executive director for the West LA chapter for the American Red Cross, and it's just been a whirlwind getting into nonprofits and getting to where I am today. My career, where it started, where I thought it would be, where it would go, and essentially just being a good person and trying to put some good out there in the world. So that's what I'm just trying to accomplish. I'm living my life, trying to do some good, have some fun, and that's it.
Sounds great. That sounds great. And I was so struck by you and your connection to really making a difference and doing work that matters. So now let's go back to, let's say, um, your early years. Did you know what kind of work you wanted to do when you grew up? Was there something in you that said, I want to do one thing or another?
Not at all. When I was growing up, I was always kind of in the mode where I knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how. It was, going into college or even growing up, people had been like, you should go into like be like a therapist, work into something where you can help somebody. And so it was always something that really inspired me and something that even now it's still an opportunity. I've considered maybe going back to school or doing this, but along the way, going to school, I took different roads, different paths, and everything kind of led me down to the nonprofit world. It's kind of a crazy story. Because I originally was like, I'm going to be in radio. I want to do this, and so I thought that's how I would get my voice out there, work with people, get to know my community by doing that. And so I attempted that. And during that path, I came across a Red Cross blood drive that was held through the radio station that I was working with. And I just was totally blown away by their mission. And so from that kind of experience, it led me to this path to where I am now. So no way did I ever think I was going to get into nonprofit. I was always down kind of the radio path, or maybe I'd go back to school to get into to being a therapist of some kind, but school psychologist something. But this path just was narrow. It narrowed for me, and the more I kind of got in, I was like, I think this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah, and I like that you were guided by, you knew one thing for clear, for certain you want to help people. So
Oh
that
yeah.
has always been a guide. So now I just want to break it down a little bit more and kind of dig into some of the details of your story. All right, let's go back to you at the radio station. All right, so when you went there, and you probably had that thing in the back of your mind of wanting to help people, what was your intent when you started working there? It was just the joy of radio or the joy of the world, or what was kind of the thing that helped you land there?
Yeah, well, I mean, what helped me land there was I had been experiencing some things where I would talk to people and I'm like, I think I want to, I'm not sure what I want to do. They're like, oh, you would be a great like radio personality, a radio host, something. And I was like, you know what, that sounds like fun. And as I like went down like the college path, I unfortunately went to school during the time of where the recession hit and classes were getting harder to get. And so I really wanted to go down like the psychology path, but because of just school like funds getting cut and it was almost a rush to start working. And so I was like, well, maybe I can go straight into radio. So I started doing it. I did an internship there. I had some wonderful experiences, but like all things, it was like, well, we don't really have anything for you to do this. You need more experience, but we do have this like sales opportunity for you. So I was like a sales assistant, kind of like trying to like talk to the DJs, make friends with them, and see what I could try to do. But pretty quickly I realized, you know what, like all things, radio maybe wasn't working out as much as it was. The podcast started rolling out. The DJs that I had gotten to know, they were all starting to retire, and radio was going to start looking very different. So I noticed it pretty quickly and started finding an alternative path. So that's what directed me towards, okay, if this isn't going to pan out, what else would I like to do? What would I like to put my effort into? And so that's when I found the Red Cross, and that's kind of the little mini path that I took.
Yeah, and I love that you asked the question, and I'm highlighting that because there might be somebody who's in a place like you are in the radio station and realizing, hey, this is not for me. The industry was changing, it sounds like, and you're like, this is probably not the best fit anyway, and the industry is changing, and then that's when the shift occurred. So I'm saying that because somebody else might be in that place now. Either the industry is changing wherever they are, or they might be feeling like, well, this is not a good fit for me, and
Yep.
you had the self-awareness to ask, well, what would be the best use of my efforts? So
Mhm.
you asked yourself a question, which takes some self-awareness. And people who are self-aware take that for granted. Because there are some people who it doesn't come naturally to think of something like that. So I'm leaving that out there for as a pro tip for people who are listening. All right, so you asked yourself, and so then when the Red Cross came along, it sounds like that you recognized something in that work that suited you. Say more how they came along, what happened with the recognition, and then how you started to move toward getting that job.
Yeah. So when I would see like the blood drives happening, and they were so exciting. And so what we used to do with the radio station, they partnered with the Red Cross for, I think they're on like their 45th year of this blood drive, where they would invite donors to come in, donate, and get concert tickets. And so we would be at these events and seeing people donate, and which was very exciting. But it was the part of, oh wow, like, oh well, Red Cross, like we've all heard about it, we all learned about this. I want to know more. And eventually, like I saw a job posting and was like, all right, like I think this is it. I applied for the job, also, through connects, because when you're looking for a job, it's also really important to try to get in with somebody that you may know from the organization. So luckily, through the radio station and through that, I was able to kind of like nudge in and be like, hey, like I applied for something, would somebody be able to put in a good word for me, since the radio station had a good relationship with the Red Cross. So I used that as my leverage. And the joke was with the person who helped me get the interview. They're like, I helped you get the interview, but you got yourself the job. So when I had the interview, I came in. I don't, the job was originally for volunteer engagement. So it's to get volunteers to sign up for shifts to help at our local blood drives. They were like, what experience do you have managing volunteers? What experience do you have? I had none. My experience was I used to volunteer in high school, and just more of I wanted. I just really put forward my passion and my want to be a person that would be able to advocate for the Red Cross and get the volunteers in. So through that, I convinced them that I was a good fit, and it was quite the journey. starting. It was a little nerve wracking because you're dealing with a lot of change, what was happening at the time, and being that new person where you're coming in, I'm all enthusiastic, and team members are like, wait, but we're changing the way we do everything. So this is a whole other conversation too, because change management when starting a new job in or even in your regular work is always going to be something that's there. But coming in, being fresh, a lot of changes happening. I tried to be a good advocate to our volunteers to let them know what's going on, how's it going. I came in and I think I did a pretty good job. It was about a good couple months to get my groove going, but once I got it, I was in. I was so excited. I hope
Yes.
that answers your question. I just
It
started rambling there a little
did.
bit.
It did very clearly. It answered the question. And so, okay, so we're following your journey right now. I'm with you. I'm still
Okay,
following.
okay.
All right. So now you have this wonderful job and you're um, getting volunteers engaged, which I think is interesting because you got the job by your, even though you felt like it was sort of limited experience with
Yes.
volunteering, right? But it's that thing that came through you of wanting to help and kind of being service minded. And to highlight the fact that you volunteered in high school also said there was something about you, even in high school, who had that kind of
Yes.
service orientation and wanting to help. And side note, so what was your volunteering in high school? What were
In
you
high
volunteering?
school, I did the assistance league. So it's an organization where women would get together. It was like a women's club, and then we had like the junior, like the assistance league for like high schoolers. So what we would go out is we would go out and do fundraising. We would also volunteer at different locations. We would go do hospital visits. We had a thrift store that we would all work at to raise money for our community. I was also the president for that organization. It's so wild. Like when I look back, it's like, oh, of course, all roads led to here, but life is not linear like that.
Right.
but but that's what we did, and it was a good time. It was a way for us to build that community in my town where I grew up, which is Downey, California, and we had the best times, and I have some really great friendships that have that sprouted from that and still have to this day.
And see, you laughed when you said you went into that role with that little bit of experience, but that really made a difference. And it said something about the kind of mindset that you had to do the work. So I love that story. Um, all right, so you did that. You were a leader in high school, and then you went through the radios, and then now you at the Red Cross. Now
Mhm.
we know today you're the interim executive director. Now, how'd you get from volunteer engagement to the director role, which is sounds like more of a more of a leadership role than the other. Both leadership, but seems like a another level of leadership.
Yeah, I mean, from that point on, it was an interesting road, because I was in our biomed side of the Red Cross, and like sometimes in jobs, you get to a point where you're like, okay, where's my growth going to come from? I also did that thing where I was working for the Red Cross and there was really no opportunities for growth. So I left for 2 years. I left and I joined an aerospace company where we got to work on some really exciting things and certain things that I'm not allowed to talk about. But it was an experience, and I think that's what led me, like, again, it's a long road to get from here to there. And I left, went to the aerospace, and I missed the mission of the work. And then I came back to the Red Cross.
Oh,
And the second I came back from the Red Cross within 6 months, I was in somewhat of the same role, but on a different department. And within 4 months of my role, I was in already taking an interim role for a volunteer manager. Then 6 months later, another interim role for our regional volunteer services officer. So it's taking kind of these opportunities when they come, because unfortunately in this workspace, I don't know if this is my millennial experience, but sometimes jumping up is kind of hard. It's not as, it's not like the work way of like our parents where it was like work hard and you'll get a promotion. Now it's these are very coveted positions that sometimes it's hard to move up. So you have to almost extend yourself a little bit more and learn different roles to get the opportunity to be a leader. So in my role as an engager, um, even though I'm in that position, I'm still viewed, I believe, in my organization as like a leader of some kind. Even though it's not a position that's, you know, senior leadership, they would come to me for, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so when this opportunity came up, they came to me and said, "Would you be interested in doing another interim role?" And here I am. I'm doing another. This is my fourth interim role for the Red Cross, and I'm learning so much, and I'm hoping that this is something that would eventually lead to that position, that promotion, that place that I have been striving for. And it's a long road, and sometimes you make it and sometimes you fall a little short. So it's a long road, and you have to just keep pushing sometimes.
Yeah, that's the key to anything, to keep going. But I noticed when you were telling the story that each time someone recognized your ability to do the thing they were asking you to do. I
Mhm.
mean, each time they thought you would be the person and you had the ability. And so they had the trust and faith in you. So there's something about that. There's certain skills that you developed and that you expressed that they could see
Yeah.
that you could do that next role and that next role and that next role. All right, so
Yeah.
let's go back a little bit to the aerospace. And I know you can't say specifically about what they were doing, but can you say about your role, your work?
Yeah. So what I did for the aerospace company was I was working with our suppliers to, meet our budgets and also kind of make those relationships where I can make asks that were probably, not beneficial to the suppliers, like, hey, could you speed up the process on these parts that we're making, and could you not charge us for it? So it was a lot of just kind of making those relationships and putting in those asks to see what we could be done so that we can get to our projects done faster. So that was a really interesting position, and it was one that I when I was in that, I didn't get a lot of enjoyment out of it. As much as I love speaking with people and talking to people, I was not using my best skills in this job. It was a lot of paperwork. It was a lot of following very specific procedures. And as much I did a great job, my job, I when I told them I was leaving for the Red Cross, they were like, "We'll give you more money, just stay." Like, they were asking me to stay, but in my heart, I couldn't. And so, because I knew that the next role that I was going to be taking would utilize the best skills that I had, where I could find that fulfillment. And so, mhm,
All right, I want to talk about that moment a little more because that might be where somebody else is in their job. They
yeah.
might recognize, I'm good at this, but it's not fulfilling at all. You
Mhm,
know, they're having that experience, that crossroads moment.
yeah.
Now, remind me, did the Red Cross just happen to come along, or were you saying, I'm unfulfilled, let me keep my eyes open in case something comes along?
It was it was a moment of when I came to that realization with the aerospace company, that I was like, I am not enjoying this in the way that I would want to. And so I kept thinking, it's like thinking of like your ex-boyfriend. You're like, oh, I wonder how they're doing. I miss them, And so that was kind of where my brain was going. And I got a phone call from a coworker from Red Cross saying, hey, there's a position open. Would you be interested? And I'm telling you, like, this was like maybe 3 weeks of me thinking of my ex and being like, I miss them. What are they doing? Are they happy without me? Got the phone call. So it almost feels like, I feel like sometimes things work out for a reason, and the reasoning of that feeling of missing the work, missing the mission. And so when I got that phone call, I was like, this is the path I'm going to be on. And sometimes it doesn't happen like that. You have to do the work. You have to start looking for that fulfillment before you just get to a place where you're too unhappy. But this just lined up perfectly, and it was a defining moment to be like,
I
I'm leaving this job.
I love that. I love that. All right, so now tell us a little bit about what does because some people are listening now, and it's good to hear about different roles and positions, whether it's something they're gonna do or not. But what does an executive director do? And
So
we know you're in this interim role, and it's a leadership role, but what does that even mean?
So what that means is the executive director, at least in the Red Cross, you are the spokesperson for the Red Cross of your area. So you're putting all of our initiatives and you're being that person putting out all of the work that we do into the public. Now, what does that mean? That means we're talking to elected officials. That means that we're talking to community partners, so your local organizations. We're also talking to your local city people to help promote our initiatives. And also with that, we're also have run a board of these very intelligent, very outgoing, very mission driven people who want to help the Red Cross advance and really just spread the word and see how we can get our like our services out to people and making sure that we're serving our communities in the best way possible. So that's essentially what an executive director does in a very long-winded way.
Well, I'm glad your journey led you there because that's how you and I connected since I happen to be on that board, and then we get to meet, and then now we get the opportunity to have this conversation and inspire others through your journey.
Yeah.
All right. So now this podcast, you know the name of the podcast is Leadership Purpose. And I created the podcast for what I call high achieving women. Now, let me tell you my definition of high achieving women because lots of people may have different definitions. When I say high achieving, I mean someone who's ambitious. And it could be any number of these or a combination of these, right? But this is sort of the general characteristics ambitious, responsible, uh, good at a couple things. She's the one that pe people come to her at work in her professional life and say, "Hey, let me get your advice on this," or "What do you think about this?" Or "What about this role? Have you did can you come over here and help us do this?" And even in her personal life, people might come to her from her family or neighborhood, community, organization and say, "Hey, let me get your advice on this," or "What do you think about this?" Whether she has any background in it or not. She's like a person who is sort of a trusted uh, thought partner with people, right? All right. But now she's in a career and she's successful. It looks good on the outside. Everything seems to be okay, nothing to complain about, but she's unfulfilled and she's at this crossroads in her career. And so she's the person we're talking to right now.
Yeah.
All right. Now, with that person in mind, what's something you can share from your own personal or professional experience that might give her a sense of hope?
Oof, man. I mean,
It could be advice or not advice or encouragement or just something that just might give her a little bit of hope.
that's a really good question because, I've had many moments like that where it's just like, what am I doing? Am I going down the right path? And it's a constant conversation that I have with myself, with my partner, with my friends. And so if I was talking to this person, it would just be, ugh, okay, I always love to mention my partner. He is so insightful. And so he's always like, if you don't know what direction you're going in, just keep doing something and don't stop moving. Because if you don't have, what is his saying? If you don't know where you're going, you'll like, as long as you keep moving, you'll end up somewhere.
Yes, yes. And I'm a firm believer in that we get clarity through action.
It's true. It's so true because like every time like this is my fourth interim and so you get to a point where you're just like when is this gonna pan out? Like, I really want to do something more. I have so much more to offer. And so sometimes it is extending yourself a little bit, and sometimes being like, have I extended myself enough? Maybe. But at the same time, if you keep learning, you'll never know when a skill that you've learned randomly will be exactly where you like it will be exactly what you need where you want to end up. So I feel like that's kind of been my lesson in my journey with this, because to be honest, they asked me to do this interim and I was like, I don't know. I took a day to think about it. I was like, do I really want to push that much more hard, like that much more when I already feel like I've developed and know I don't know this role. And so that's what convinced me. And I was like, you know what? I don't know how to do this, but you know what? I'm going to learn it and we're going to go. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm
I'm
so glad that I did.
I'm glad you did too, because then we had a chance to meet and have this conversation, and then now share it with all the people who are listening.
Yeah.
Okay, so um, I'm guessing uh, people might want to know more about you and the Red Cross. So before we tell them how they can reach you, maybe on social, is there anything that I didn't ask that maybe popped in your mind that you want? I want to say one more thing before we go. Do you have any of those thoughts? If not, it's okay. But if you have something, this is your opportunity to share it.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to bring up especially was because I am a person where I can, if you can't tell, I can be quite verbose. And so I'm trying to be more clear and concise with my language. And so I'm always trying to cool my jets a little bit. I can be a little wah in your face. And I remember when I was first meeting Robin, I wanted to tell your listeners this because this is just so, I love this story so much. I'm about to meet Robin. I'm so excited to meet her. I scheduled our meeting. I looked at her LinkedIn so I got to see what a cool and amazing person she is. And so I was like, all right, you got to be cool. You got to be calm. You got to be collected. She walks in and immediately I was like, she just brings this warm feeling of just comfort. And so I just completely unloaded on her and we had like an hour long conversation. And so I just mostly, it's not even a question that I wanted to be asked. It was just more of I loved getting to meet you that first time and just how warm and welcoming you were. And it's one of my favorite things that I get to do. I get to meet all kinds of different people. But when you meet somebody whose soul just is so beautiful from the jump, it was it was just so amazing. I just wanted to tell that story.
Well, I enjoyed meeting you too, and I loved our conversation, which is why we're here. Okay, so now what if people want to follow you? Can they find you on LinkedIn or where can they follow you?
Yes, they can follow me on LinkedIn. That it would be my primary kind of place to come search for me. Say hello, leave me a message if you have any questions about volunteering, about what the Red Cross does, whatever, whatever. I like to get to know people. I want to know the whole world, which my mom says that'll never happen, but I'm going to try.
And is it under your first and last name? Tell them how to find you.
Yeah. So it is Alina Correa. So it's Alina Correa, Correa, and just at LinkedIn. I think I'm the only one.
Alina, thank you so much for taking time out to share with us today. Especially, I know you had a very long day and you still were committed to this. So, it's an honor and a privilege to have you here. Really appreciate you.
I'm just so honored to be here. I was so excited when you asked me. I was almost shocked, but I'm glad that we were able to talk.
Yes, me too. Okay, everyone, I'd love to hear your response to this episode. Drop me a message on LinkedIn. Well, I'm on all the socials, but I spend most of my time on LinkedIn at Robin L. Owens, PhD, at Robin L. Owens, PhD. I'd love to hear what you took away from this episode. And go ahead and share the episode with a friend. And until next time, this is Dr. Robin.